guys. Morning. Welcome to my Compound Life. I'm Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits to manage all of our assets, and of course, we build freedom. And today, at the time of recording, it's the Friday, the 16th of Jan in the United Kingdom, West Midlands. It's good to see you all. This is a Bitcoin daily video, so let's get started. At the time of recording, Bitcoin price right now is around 95,361. So in the past 24 hours, it went down a little bit, right? It went down, I think, about 1 to 1.5%, starting from near 98,000, hitting a high around 97,700 and a low of 95,000. And of course, a reminder, we are still, however, about 24% away from the previous all-time high back in October last year. That was 126,000. Okay, so it does seem yesterday there has been some leverage hunt, right? Especially during this time, So usually in the UK time at around 2:30 in the afternoon, that's essentially the US time, like the market opens time, right? So Bitcoin dump around 1,800 and liquidated $80 million worth of long in just a short 90 minutes time. But then it pumped immediately again, 1,400, and liquidated $20 million worth of shorts in a matter of few minutes time. So I think 100 million market makers somehow made all their money very, very fast, very, very quick, right? So yes, there has been some leverage hunting yesterday, but certainly Bitcoin pulled back yesterday. So I think we are seeing some red today. Bitcoin pullback after testing the near the $98,000 level. $98,000 level. I think somehow that's also the very, very quite key resistance here. So I think the highlight looking at the charts is potential breakout. Potential for a breakout if we somehow hold a support here. Okay. So price is testing key support at around 95,000 after the rally. So we had a pretty good rally until about close to 98,000 in the past 2 days. And then essentially now this has become the support. We will need to make sure we can stay above these 95,000 if we can. So have 1, 2, the third test, and maybe by today's market open, if we can continue to hold this, it could target for a good target for us to get to. The next one will be around 100,000 to about 107,000 based on momentum that we have seen in the past few days, right? But if it drops below 94,000, right, then essentially this whole movement upwards, it's a bull trap, or what we call them a dead cat bounce. So meaning the recent up move was fake and could lead to more downside. So bear that in mind, right? So this kind of indicate to us that the market is now waiting for confirmation. So volatility could pick up soon. So I guess for us, it's just wait and hold. As long as you're not in leverage, you'll be fine. So we'll wait and hold. I think from at least from 50 days moving average, right? It's still positive in a way that, you know, we are seeing kind of like a trend shift here from a couple of days ago. 95,000, we simply have to hold it right about here. If we can see it, then we should see more movement upwards. Okay, but so far I think all we can do is just to wait and see, and see whether we can get that confirmation in the next 1 or 2 days, right? So far, I'm not saying that trends are overall turning bullish, but it does seem trend is turning neutral to bullish, right? So at least we're not turning bearish immediately, but trend is turning neutral to bullish. Kind of my read on the chart or the sentiment right now, a breakout above 97,500 or a breakout, you know, towards that 98,000 could confirm more upside for us. But of course, direction all depends on holding support, right? So we just have to hold this 95,000 support. So I guess just be patient, guys. We'll see whether we get our weekend pump. Hopefully Trump's not going to announce something towards close of business. He loves announcing something every time on a Friday towards close of business. That will usually just wreck the market on a Monday market open. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, we could potentially see some clarity maybe by end of week, right? Whether can we get higher towards the 100,000, or we simply cannot hold that 95,000 and make that a support. That becomes a resistance. So, you know, we'll head downwards more. So that's the charts for everyone for Bitcoin price movement, what to anticipate for the week, right? So let's move on to fear and greed index. We are currently on 50, back onto the neutral zone. I think yesterday we were pretty greedy. Yesterday at around 62. Yeah, 62. We were at a greed zone. So things change fast. Sentiment change fast. So I think now it's essentially the waiting game, right? Everyone's just waiting to see whether there could be a breakout, whether 95,000 can hold and become a support. So we will see. Okay, and looking at the ETF flow, yesterday, the 15th of Jan, Thursday's data, ETF, it was bullish, but with only $100 million worth of inflow, right? At least BlackRock, it's still bullish. That has the highest worth of inflow, about $315 million worth of inflow. Fidelity was the one that has been selling the most, around $188 million worth of outflow. Okay, giving us the week, a very, very positive week this so far. I think this has been one of the most positive so far for 2026. A total net inflow positive of $1.8 billion of Bitcoin inflow, right? So for this week, of course, compared to last week, it was a outflow of $681 million. But so far, I think for the months of January 2026, it has been bullish overall of $1.6 billion worth of inflow. Okay, so we're definitely not back into September or October type of heavy inflow, or even back into 2025 July, you know, where it was like on a monthly worth of inflow that was around $6 billion, right? So in the peak of 2025, just before Bitcoin price, massive drop from October 10th onwards. The inflow for September last year was around 3.5 billion. October was about 3.4 billion. And then so far, January, only half a month's worth of data for Bitcoin ETF. We're at around 1.6 billion. So half of the inflow from the peak during, compared to last year. Okay, so we will see how it goes, but overall sentiment is shifting. I think it's shifting towards more neutral and grinding towards bullish. So I think all's good, right? And of course, Ethereum ETF, 164 million worth of inflow. Majority is coming from BlackRock. So from an ETF perspective on a weekly basis, I think, yes, it's been bullish for Ethereum too. 474 million worth of weekly ETH. And then the monthly, I think at least ETH is getting out from that bearishness too. In the month of December, it was an all outflow of 616 million outflow. November last year, it was $1.4 billion worth of outflow. And so far for January, it's been positive. For that would be about $580 million worth of inflow. Okay, and quick look into Solana ETF. I think Solana is doing pretty well again. Yesterday's total, it was all inflow of 8.9 million and giving it a good weekly inflow so far, $49 million worth of inflow. And compared to last week, it was also positive. So it has always been positive for Solana. However, certainly this week, when traders, investors are all coming back to work finally, it seems more and more money will be getting shifted into Solana too, right? So good for Solana. Months-wise, I think by the time we finish January, I think we should be well above December's last year inflow for Solana. So all's good. Okay. So now let's move on to news that moves Bitcoin price. One thing to highlight, I think the Russell 2000, it's a very, very important highlight. So Ethereum rides high on Russell 2000 surge. I think, it's giving indication that everything surges. It does seem that the index, Russell 2000 hits a new all-time high after the US Open yesterday, or the past few days actually. The index is up at around 7% in the first 15 days of 2026, adding nearly $220 billion into the market. So this shows a clear rotation of capital towards higher risk asset. And when you can see Russell 2000 kind of surges, you can also felt that on Bitcoin and the rest of crypto too. So take for instance something like Ethereum. Ethereum also pumped pretty fast. And of course, there are other news such as U.S. Senate delays crypto bill markup after pushback from Brian Armstrong. So obviously, Brian Armstrong said banks are trying to kill Bitcoin and crypto and the market structure bill. So a bit of background. Again, I did mention this a couple of times in the other daily Bitcoin news. Background: Senate Banking Committee canceled the markup for crypto market structure bill. That's the Clarity Act. this week. So Coinbase, obviously, Brian Armstrong, he looked through the suggestion and decided to pull the support, saying that the draft is actually worse than the current rules. So BUILD aimed to define crypto regulations, split the oversight between SEC and CFTC. Okay, so I think let's quickly watch this. I think it's worth the while to watch it.
Well, I think the high-level principle here is that we can't really have banks come in and try to kill their competition at the expense of the American consumer, right? People in America should be able to earn more money on their money. I think stablecoins are an opportunity for banks. They should be able to build great product lines with this. It's an opportunity for crypto companies. Congress and the laws that get passed, they should really create a level playing field and say, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Now, all American companies, go compete, try to build the best products and services. That's great. What's not great is if the banks can put their thumb on the scale to try to kill some of their competition, and they only pay about, 14 basis points on the average savings account. Consumers should be able to earn 3.8% on their stablecoin rewards. And so we're going to keep fighting for our customers' rights and the 52 million Americans who use crypto every day.
I mean, what would you say to the argument that banks have put forward that because of the role they play in the economy, the loans that they make, if they do wind up seeing billions of dollars, as some have estimated would have happened going from banks to stablecoin, they say that could have a big impact on the economy. What's your response to that?
Yeah, well, banks don't have a monopoly on lending money. Actually, crypto is doing quite well in this area as well, and crypto is a technology to update all parts of the financial system, whether it's lending, capital formation, etc. So I think banks do play an important role in the economy and making these loans. Crypto should be allowed to do similar types of activity. We're not engaged in fractional reserve lending. That's an important point, by the way, because the bank license, what that really allows you to do is fractional reserve. The banks don't have all of your money there. That's why there's so much oversight.
I think enough of that. I think since the whole thing is getting delayed, I think from the perspective from a Bitcoiners, you're looking at your charts all day, you're looking at the prices all day, right? All of this will delay, creates uncertainty, it hurts sentiment as industry wanted clear rules fast under a pro-crypto Trump administration, but it certainly felt banks, the traditional finance, are kind of trying to suppress this, try to play tricks, try to add in clauses that are not at all in favor to any of us, right? So this is why, it gives us, I don't know, I think it gives us more chance to stack up more in terms of Bitcoin, because this essentially will be the future, and it essentially is giving so much indication in terms of why big banks are trying to suppress this. Because imagine through suppressing this, once this can of worms open, there will be so much more money that gets flooding into Bitcoin and crypto and the new form of finance. So that's why I kind of see this as a good and a bad thing, I guess. And of course, at the time of announcement, I think Bitcoin definitely dipped from 97,000 to about 95,000. And yeah, I think overall, short term, it's rather bearish, because it does seem, whatever long, I think it has been 1 year that they've been trying to put together this clarity bill. But at the very last minute, Brian Armstrong just comes in and push over the whole thing and say, we'd rather not have one, right? So short-term wise, it's bearish because, it's kind of asking them to go back to the drawing board to relook into all of this clarity bill again. And I don't think any of this will be resolved in a matter of weeks or months. Probably even takes longer. And I think somehow this will be the bank's objectives, to delay or defer this as long as possible, because somehow they don't want that money to be leaked into Bitcoin, that liquidity to get over to Bitcoin, or they need time to pivot, right? So this is why, it's giving them, the big banks, the traditional banks, the opportunity to do so. Okay. And of course, other news that could also be impacting the Bitcoin price in the past 24 hours and very likely will continue to impact the Bitcoin price. It's Trump's Iran's tariffs announcement that adds market to become more nervous. I think this will continue to be the headline that will frighten off the ETF buyers and cause them to sell. Background, I think Trump imposed a 25% tariffs on countries trading with Iran effectively immediately. Okay, so China is Iran's top partner, so could hit global trade again. Okay, and of course, I think tariffs raise inflation fears, and of course, it always it hurts all of the risk asset like Bitcoin, like our Magnificent Seven stocks. And of course, the build up on the Supreme Court delay on broader tariffs ruling, it's definitely not helping with the overall sentiment. So short term wise, I think market makers would find this as an opportunity to manipulate the market and to try to liquid longs and shorts. But overall, I think longer term wise, I think it will still be neutral for Bitcoin. But having said that, you know what? This is a year Bitcoin should dip lower, right? And then we, historically at least for the past 3 Bitcoin cycle, this is the year, and then we are already 3 months plus on this specific year, getting into a Bitcoin bottom. And in that case, the longer that we are progressing here, it kind of, at least I'm not 100% bullish that, we will definitely be getting into another all-time high, yada, yada, yada. So we'll see how all that goes. Okay. Other interesting news may not affect Bitcoin price immediately. I think one of it is to highlight the West Virginia proposal of 10% state funds into Bitcoin. I think nations adopting, states adopting. So all good, all very positive for Bitcoin. So West Virginia bill allows state treasury to invest up to 10% in Bitcoin large cap digital assets. Why it matters? I think state level adoption grows BTC as well as reserve asset, a bit like precious metal. So I think short term it will cause some excitement, but from a longer term bullishness perspective, you know what? There will be so much more Bitcoin accumulation, right? From the states, from the government, from the institutions, from the wealthy, and even for us, the regular retail, right? So yes, everyone's out there trying to get your Bitcoin now, guys. So get stacking, guys. Get stacking. DCA. Don't go lump sum in, just DCA. DCA is the best strategy for Bitcoin, or pound cost average if you're from the UK. Other news, big whales open a 95 million Bitcoin long. So this specific whale, by the way, I think it could be an insider of the Trump government, from the Trump government administration. Maybe, I'm just speculating, right? So this specific whale with 95% win rate opened a 95.8 million long on Bitcoin at 3x leverage. The liquidation level is around 60,500 and already in profit at $200,000. Okay, so well done for this whale. I think, why am I letting you guys know about this kind of story? It's essentially, it shows smart money are betting on upside to at least $200,000 for Bitcoin. Okay, so whales insiders, they're still bullish, and of course I think it matters because short-term bullish whales bets lift sentiment for Bitcoin, and of course it kind of also signals accumulation for many of us. Okay, and of course other happy news to add on to. Solo miner wins a block, helping him or her or organization earns about 300,000. What a lucky solo miner. Hope that kind of give you some hopium for Friday. If a solo miner can be lucky, maybe we'll be lucky too, and grind our way back up to 100,000. Okay. Other hopium news. I know that we all love hopium. Tom Lee. Let's go to Tom Lee. So Tom Lee says Bitcoin is going into super cycle. I know he always said that. And of course, Tom Lee bought more Ethereum. It's not really Bitcoin, but it's Ethereum. So he bought 80 million worth of Ethereum and continue to stake another 600 million worth of ETH. Okay, so it's pretty impressive because Tom Lee reveals Bitmain expect at least $400 million annual pre-tax income from its 13 billion dollars worth of ETH holding, mainly through staking, right? So these are kind of like incredible staking rewards that because Ethereum proof of stake blockchain protocol enables them to have some yield from staking their Ethereum to try to strengthen the network. And of course, other things to highlight in terms of Tom Lee. Tom Lee, Bitmain invests $200 million into Mr. Beast industry. This is not just a random buy. I think it's a very, very strategic buy because Bitmain is, as we all know, it's the world's biggest corporate holder of Ethereum. They own billions worth, and they are continuously buying as well as staking. It's earning them good staking rewards and so forth, right? So I know there are some viewers that doesn't really know Mr. Beast because somehow my channel do attract older or more matured viewers, right? So in that case, who the hell is Mr. Beast? That's the company run by a YouTube star. Yeah, I kind of, it's such inspirational sometimes to look through Mr. Beast development in terms of YouTube. So it kind of gives me inspiration to be better with my content generation too. So remember to hit the like and hit subscribe and let me know who you are in the comment section. I love to always hear from my viewers. So Mr. Beast, that's the company run by YouTube superstar Jimmy Donaldson, I think, who has over 450 million subscribers, right? I'm only like 200 subscribers. So, and huge reach with young people like the Gen Z and millennials. So the deal is expected to close around January the 19th, 2026. And of course, Tom Lee explained on CNBC that this makes sense because they see Ethereum as the future of finance where digital money, stocks, and services blend together. And Mr. Beast's platform could help bring that to everyday people through content, digital item, and maybe even financial services. Right? So by investing in Mr. Beast, huge audience and brand, it's like buying a super fast way to get access to millions of new people and try to onboard them into crypto and try to onboard them into Ethereum, right? And I'm sure this will be beneficial for these individuals to, to be exposed to Ethereum. And of course, they will also eventually get exposure onto Bitcoin. So Mr. Beast's video gets billions of views on a daily basis. Imagine if future videos starts to teach people about crypto, Ethereum, right? It shows big crypto players are thinking beyond just holding their Bitcoins or holding their Ethereum in Bitwise and staking. However, to kind of like branch out to try to onboard more new users, right? So building bridges to normal people through Mr. Beast's content. So very, very strategic, I believe. So overall, for the past 24 hours, Bitcoin's down 95,000, and after retesting from 98,000. So we'll definitely have to hold that $95,000. We'll see in the next 1 or 2 days whether it will hold. I think if we can hold and retest that 98,000, very likely will immediately shoot up to about 100,000. Okay, as a reminder, for me, that will be a good time to take some profit. I'm not saying that the top's in, but I'm also hinting that perhaps if we still follow through the 4-year cycle, perhaps that $126,000 worth of Bitcoin back in early October, that was the top. Okay, so we'll see how it goes. That's it from me today. Happy Friday, and drop a like, hit subscribe, let me know in the comment section who you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.